To Hull and back, yes, and Tiger Talk here on Humber Wave Radio. Good evening, and thanks for joining us live. Well, we're all over the place, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm sat here in my room in Hull. Paul Wright's in Hull. Christian, are you in Hull?
Yeah, I'm in Hull. Yeah.
There's only Joe that's not.
I'm not. Away at uni. Lincoln.
Away at uni. There you go. He's in Lincoln. He's a yellow belly. I think they call Lincoln people, don't they? Something like that.
Yes, they do. People from Lincolnshire are called yellow bellies.
Yes, certainly are. And we're on Tiger Talk. We're on there. It's a Hull and Back podcast. We're all very happy and smiley. 3 out of 3. We wouldn't have thought this last week, would we?
Not a chance.
No, I think it was all winnable, weren't they? Well, whether we could have won them, I wouldn't have said, but it was all winnable, I think.
Yeah. There we go. Confidence from Paul, right? Christian, not as confident. Joe?
If we were to put a run together at this time with all the questions that were surrounding Tim Walter after the 2 defeats to Leeds and to Sheffield United, he couldn't have asked for 3 weaker teams for the next couple of games to be against, I think. Stoke weren't very good. Cardiff, there's a reason there at the bottom. And QPR threatened us more than any other team in this run, really. Out of the 3, I'd still say they were the ones that looked most like winning the game, especially in the first 10 minutes when Ivor Panda turned into Ivor Panda Sa and morphed into the Dutch legend himself. And look, I guess the first 2 scorers right on our Sunday episode. That'll do me.
You certainly did, Joe. I saw that on Twitter. I would say to you, though, yes, I think, as people have said, all those games was winnable. But there's some of those little things that happen to Hull City where teams sack a manager and then they come to us and they beat us. And we've had that with Stoke. We had that with Cardiff. And, that would usually end up in a defeat, at least one of those 2 games. And it didn't, which is really pleasing to see. The other pleasing thing is that we've scored, I think, is it 10 goals in 3 games?
Yeah, 10 goals
10 goals in 3 games. We hadn't seen many goals up until that point. But, yeah, 10 in the last 3 games. I don't think any of us can complain at the moment, can we?
Not really.
No.
Not at all. I think it's more of a shock factor, isn't it? Like, especially with Hull and their, let's call it, history, since we've just obviously had the 120 years. Being on Sky, the games where you feel like we should get something out of it, especially those teams that have just had a new manager, generally Hull kind of falter at the head when it comes to those type of games. And it's just so nice. I feel great. It just feels so nice for once to not be let down by the lads. Walters has absolutely just he's got that confidence back within the club. I can feel it. I feel the energy from everywhere. I don't think you lads have ever seen me this beaming before. I feel great right now. I've actually got a stomach bug at the moment. I feel awful that way, but mentally and Hull City wise, I've not stopped beaming for the past 3 matches. It's brilliant.
It was one of them things, Paul, wasn't it, where basically we've not really been lucky enough to experience it for a while, but seeing us actually still attacking when we're winning the game 2-1, maybe 3-1, and we're still going for the win to get even more goals. That's really pleasing to see, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I think, we've seen a different team. Whether it's been these first 6 matches that they've had to gel, I don't know, but there's definitely a lot of confidence there. And I think a lot of the players, Balumi to me stands out. I thought he was a little bit weak early on, but he's getting better and better each game. And he's getting more and more confident each game. And Pando, pre-season, we'd have had anybody in goal, wouldn't we? We'd have had one of the jelly babies in goal because he was just seemed to be so poor. But he was absolutely brilliant last night. And he's been good in a lot of the games. I'm not just picking out last night. So I just thought maybe the first, maybe he needed these few games to get the people's confidence in his system a little bit and get them with a bit of confidence because they're certainly playing with that confidence. Last night, even though we could have been 2 or 3 down before we scored, where Pando was outstanding, they still played, as you say, going forward. We've scored a goal, 70th minute. I think last season, probably, the last few seasons, we're 2-1 up away from home. We'd have shut up shop. But we had, we're still going forward, and it is good to see. And I think they all seem real confident at the moment. Let's hope, it doesn't sort of disappear on Saturday. But, you've got to take it as it is at the moment. We've won 3 games that I think last season, I don't think we'd have won all 3, to be honest.
No, I don't think we would either. I agree with you. I think that you're right. And I think, when I've looked at some comments on Twitter, somebody had said, John didn't do the right thing in his press conference when he called out the goalkeeping situation. But you can see why he did, because when you've seen Pandora in goal, obviously pre-season aside, I think from the start of the season, he showed that he's definitely a better keeper than Allsop. And, he seems to be calmer. He just seems to, I think he's probably giving the defense a little bit of confidence, him being behind. And obviously, he's calm on the ball. I think it makes them calm on the ball. And, I can't see him losing his place at the moment.
I think his ends. I don't want to have one, but I think his ends a bad display for his displays this season. I mean, that double save last night, it was brilliant.
Oh yeah,
David. I think David Ray made one a couple of weeks ago for Arsenal, but I still think this one was as good, if not better. He's really playing well. I just think his end. I don't want him to have a bad display, but if he has a bit of a bad display, I think he's earned that at the moment because he's been outstanding. I don't think he's really had a bad game since the pre-season's finished.
I'm really lucky that I get to not interview, but I get to present an evening for the Hull City Official Supporters Club. I'm hosting the evening, and Ivor Pandor's one of the guests, and Liam Miller's the other guest. I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to chatting to Ivor, to ask him, what it was like coming in January and, not getting a game until the change of manager and starting this season, and how he's felt about it and how he's felt about his performances since he came in. I'm looking forward to having a chat with him. It's at Hull City Official Supporters Club Meet the Players event, which is on Tuesday, the 29th of October, 7:30 at Blackburn Club in Brough. If you can make it, it's £3 if you're not an OSC member. It's free if you are an OSC member. I think it'll be a really good night, and I'm looking forward to it. Two good guests that they're providing the club to the Hull City OSC, and it'd be interesting to say what they say, won't it, Joe?
It will be. And look, Ivor was phenomenal. There's no other way of saying it. I was among the critics, definitely, and I was a little bit nervous. And I thought, first game of the season, I said Tim Walter's a risk taker the day before in my little preview. So I predicted Rachopi would start. But Ivor Panda has kept his place over Anthony Rachopi, and now he's kept his place over Carl Rushworth, who, for me, is the best goalkeeper in the Championship, based on what he did for Swansea last season, his England under-21 pedigree, and what have you. And it's only me from the sort of traditional to Hull and back side on the show tonight. But Will has sent me some thoughts about the game last night, which he has asked me to read out. So in the words of Will, quote,
he's not got any swearing in there, has he, Joe?
No, it has not.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a change for Will.
He said, quote, I thought the QPR performance was better than against Cardiff, particularly second half. Panda Sarr was immense, and the defence held firm when required. And going forward, we again looked very dangerous. 3 wins in a row. Those calling for Tim's head the past few weeks seem a bit quiet now. Onwards and upwards.
I think that's fair enough, to be quite honest with you. To be honest with you, I was wondering about Tim, and we discussed it last week, whether a Jung was there to sack him after the Stoke game before he got that result. We did discuss it last week. Tim's seems to be proving his doubters wrong. He even got to wave to the crowd last night after there was chanting his name halfway through the second half, which is great for him, isn't it? It's great for him. It'll give him that bit of confidence himself.
What I love most is, like, he didn't really know what was going on, I don't think. And then
he didn't.
The players on the bench, there's Cal Rushworth there, there's Finn Burns there, I think, Stephen Alzate, Mason Bairstow saying, "Go on, Gaffer, stand up." And he stands up and he lifts his arms up. He didn't really wave, did he? He sort of just flung his arms in, flung both arms in the air.
Maybe that's the German way of doing it, Joe. We don't know, do we? But yeah, I mean, it was great to see him getting some feedback from the supporters, and he deserves it after 3 games, 3 wins, 10 goals. Players playing really well, and when you bring in the quality off the bench that we've got at the moment, Zambrano. I mean, I don't know why he didn't start the game, but he falls over twice and he's still got hold of the ball.
That touch, he's
absolutely outstanding.
And did that pass. I was like, how does a player do that? Like, that was pure. You could just know if someone could actually fall over, literally palm face down, and still get that touch and pass off like that. You think
they're a player.
They're a player. Yeah, exactly, Joe.
The thing is, right, with Zambrano, I was really surprised he was dropped. I sort of went, what?
Yeah.
When I saw the team, I was so confused. And then when in the second half, we lost control of the game and the midfield was struggling, Zambrano comes on, sits alongside Xavi Simons, and Oscar Zambrano did what Oscar Zambrano did. He breaks the play up well, plays some good passes, somehow manages to keep the ball when he's, all 4 limbs firmly attached to the grass. Superb.
I wouldn't have liked to have been in a couple of those tackles that he put in, because he put 2 massive solid challenges in. And I'm thinking there was really, really hard challenges, but there was fair challenges as well. And he just seems to be able to, control himself enough to make the challenge fair, but strong as well, don't he, Paul?
He really is a good player. You can see on the ball he's found space. He does everything. I mean, everybody said we'd miss Seri. Well, I think we've found, probably a better player, to be honest, because he's a lot younger.
He's Seri, but like 13 years younger and
that's
more
what I said.
tough tackling. He plays exactly the same.
Yeah, he's always got space. No matter when other passes to him, he's got time on the ball. He is a really good player. Let's hope this drugs thing sort of finds its way out, whatever it is. But I think
get banned.
Yeah, don't get
Tim
banned.
Walters, it is I think it's a bit harsh. I mean, I might be going to go a bit over the top here, but I think if Pep Guardiola had come to City, he'd have struggled early on. 17 new players or something, and playing it the way he plays, it's not easy, is it? And he wanted, like Liam Rossini was, he's well known in Hull. As we all know, his nana's from Hull. He played for City. He did, he did really well with City. But you have to give the fella a bit of credit, because he's come here. Nobody really knew him, did they, at the time when he came? And he's come here, and there's been a bit of backlash because of the senior sacking. And obviously he had a bad run in pre-season, a bad run early on in the season. But it seems to me at the moment have a really good team spirit. And everything seems to be going well. A bit like Christian said, everything's happy, and it makes you feel happy, doesn't it, when everything's going so well? And I just think, I hope it continues. You're going to get the odd blip in the road, aren't you? You've got to. It's football, but they're really playing with a lot of confidence, and we've got a lot of good players there, I think.
No, I agree. I think I shout him out regularly, but I'm going to shout him out again. Louis Coyle, just absolutely outstanding. He was outstanding on Saturday. His 150th appearance for the club on our 120th year anniversary, and what a shift he put in on Saturday. But again, another great shift again last night. And we've also got a shout out about Drame last night. What a great goal. But also, he's playing on the left. It's not his position. He's playing far better than any of the left backs that we've got at the club. And we've got more left backs than I care to think about. So, them two, I think the full defence worked really, really well last night together. And, Sean McLaughlin, Alfie Jones have both had a lot of criticism, not from me, but from certain people of the support that, I just don't think it's warranted at the moment. I think I wouldn't drop any of those four at the moment. Anybody else?
Well, I thought Sean McLaughlin might be, if they'd have had somebody else to take his place, I thought he might be out yesterday, to be honest. I don't think he played that well on Saturday. Thought he had one of his worst games for City, to be quite honest. But, he stepped up yesterday and he had a really good game. So you've got to give the fella credit, haven't you? Had Hughes been fit or had another left centre-back, I think he might have been on the bench or something. But he stepped up to the mark yesterday. He had a real good game. So, good to him. And that's what you want. If a player has a bad game, you've got to give him another chance the next game, I think, to show themselves rather than just say, well, you're out now and that's it. So I'm glad he got the game, but I think he might have been in danger had we had another centre back that we could put in, to be quite honest, after Saturday. As I say, I thought he had a poor game on Saturday. But that, to be fair, forget his name there, the Cardiff's right winger, won't it have been? He had a really good game, didn't he? He was probably their best player. Forget his name now. Is it Colwick or something like that? Anyway, yeah, that's him. He had a really good game and even put Drama under a lot of pressure, I thought, on Saturday. So maybe that didn't help McLaughlin, because Drama was under pressure. Obviously, it falls on him then, doesn't it? He had a lot of pace, did their winger. So, he came up to the mark yesterday, I thought. McLaughlin had a real good game, as did all. I don't think anybody had a bad game, really, yesterday.
No, I think I'd have took Xavier Simons off instead of Regan Slater just because he'd been carded, and I was a bit worried about that. But apart from that, I thought that Xavier Simons didn't have a bad game. To be quite honest, he was all right. But I thought maybe Slater played slightly better than him. That's just my opinion. And as you say, nobody really had a bad game yesterday. What's your thoughts on the defence, Christian?
Defence-wise, I mean, look, Coyle's Coyle, 110% every game for us. What badge on heart, you can see it when he plays, tries everything. Drame, left back, out of position, probably the best left back we've got, and he's not even a left back. It was crazy to see from the beginning of the season till last night the difference between the left backs we have and Drame playing there. It looks more solid. And I don't just mean solid defensively as in tackling and everything like that. I'm talking the confidence of him on the ball to link up with the central midfield and also pass the ball towards his wingers and involving a lot more players, which I felt that we missed that with anybody else in that position. I think Drama has actually brought everybody else in instead of this overlapping run or whatever. I think it's more of a link-up play and build-up that is brought into it. Now, the two lads at centre-back, Jonesy, what you can say, it's Jonesy. Week in, week out, part and parcel, no complaints. McLaughlin, now, with Paul saying, against Cardiff, you didn't think he was as good as. What I noticed about McLaughlin against Cardiff was he didn't make as many of those power-through forward runs. And he was actually sat a bit more deeper, almost like a more of a flat back four at times, instead of actually kind of doing that little joining in with the attack and going into the central midfield, but literally ended up being a cam at some stages. And that's the thing that I noticed he did differently. Now, I actually thought we were more solid at the back against Cardiff because of that. I'm not saying he had a good game, but I thought our backline was a bit more. I felt more secure watching that game than I did QPR. And I think when he does press forward, that leaves us that counter-attack that we're vulnerable against. It's a lot more noticeable. So it's hard to balance. I mean, it's still early days. It is still early days for Walter's Ball. So defensive-wise, I'm happy. But if I look at the first 10 minutes of last night's game and the first 10 minutes of the second half as well, there's still work to be done. That is obvious. There is still work to be done. Now, when Hughes is fit, does he come in? Don't know.
I mean, I think
we don't know.
He will at some point because we've spent £3.5-4 million on him. But it's just, McLaughlin has had a good start to the season.
Well, it's like the Pendo argument, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
you've got Rushworth on the bench. It's McLaughlin's doing good. Can you do
Is it
that?
better the devil you know? Kind of thing?
He's up to Cardiff. I thought he was all right. I didn't think he had a brilliant game against Cardiff. And I think, I think players are entitled to have the odd off game, and you can't just drop them for the odd off game. And this is what I'm saying about Pando. He's earned the right to have a bit of an off game, because you can't they aren't going to do it every week 100% of the time. He's going to have these games when things aren't going right for him. And I think it's nice if the manager does give him that extra game or two. I think obviously his hands was tied a little bit because we had nobody really to stand in for McLaughlin as such. So he had to play him, but I don't have a problem with him playing him. I just thought he might be the one that might, if we'd have had the player, might have got taken out because I don't think he had that good a game against Cardiff. I thought he put Drama in bad positions 2 or 3 times with passes and that sort of thing. But he's had a good season, I think, generally, because he's been on everybody's radar as he shouldn't be there, hasn't he? Why we're keeping McLaughlin. He's been one of these linchpins, I think, and I've always thought he's a good player, and he's just had a blip on Saturday. I'm not having a go at him, but they all have bad games occasionally, don't they? So it's just one of them things. Well, not
just
as good
before
a game,
just before we go to the chat that Joe's going to bring up for us, I think when you're talking about McLaughlin and him going forward and doing these runs, the problem that he's got is that when you look at Louis Coyle last night doing them runs, Regan Slater was dropping in to cover him every time he went and did that run. Somebody has to drop in and cover Sean McLaughlin when he does that run. And if that person doesn't drop in and don't know that he should be dropping in and don't see that he should be dropping in, then that's where the problem comes in. I don't think it's necessarily with what Sean McLaughlin's doing. I think it's somebody's not covering, and the manager wants them to cover. You can see that Slater dropping into right back last night to cover Coyle. It looks really good when it works well. When it don't work well, it looks very poor.
Yeah, no, you're on the nail there, Eddie. On the nail. Yeah.
And it is just that sort of tactical awareness, isn't it? So some of the comments we've got coming in on the live stream chat on the To Hull and Back podcast tonight, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter /X, begrudgingly. And for you listening on Humber Wave Radio, this is what some of you guys listening, some of your fellow listeners have been saying. Marsh Alfresco, good evening to you, Marsh, says 3 changes made. I don't think we'll see the same 11 much under Tim Walter. He likes to rotate. The subs and the timing of the subs are going to be massively important moving forward, as we discussed earlier on with Zambrano getting brought on. Jez P, good evening. Jez says Ivor Panda is going from strength to strength. Joel Green says Panda is on fire. Rushworth will get his chance. Coxey says Brighton might as well recall Rushworth. I don't think we'll be seeing him. Plus, now we can start wondering why Rossini was so obsessed with Allsop. Coxey also says, what I like about Walter is he can see when subs need to be made. He's not a manager who just waits to 70 minutes to make changes. He could see we were losing the midfield battle, so he brought on Zambrano.
Can I come in on Coxey there, Joe?
Yes, go for it.
Totally agree with what Coxey's saying. Last season under Rossini, I always said his subs were far too late. He didn't spot things early enough. Last night, I'm sat there and I'm saying midfield's getting a bit tired, needs a bit of a change. As soon as I'm saying that, Volta's changing it and he's bringing those midfielders on. So I think, he does read the game. And he's not frightened to put a sub on. I think with Rossini, he was always frightened to put a sub on because he was frightened that it might not go the right way. Whereas Tim seems to, he doesn't seem scared, does he? He's just not scared to have a go. He'll have a go at it. And I think, definitely right there, Coxie, in what you say. The subs he seems to make at the right time and he's not frightened to do it, which I like to see.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one. That's the
Coxie also says now, Jones and McLaughlin getting yellow cards at about 60-minute mark. I feared the worst, but fair to them, they both defended really well. Can absolutely agree with you on that one. We'll come to your comment about Gustavo Puerta playing in the under-21s in a moment, I'm sure. But then Coxie has also said we need to see if we can do this versus better opposition, which I sort of touched on earlier, but he put into words better than I did when I sort of just hinted at it there. And Ben Strodder says, Cody Drama has been quality so far, considering he's quote-unquote out of position. What's this? What is the... Oh, Oh, wow, look at that. For our listeners on Humber Wave Radio, someone on Twitter, that came from East Hull Tiger on Twitter, has edited a picture of Ivor Panda, so he's got 6 arms saving the ball in the early stages of the first half.
And Cardiff will have thought he had 6 arms last night, the way that he was saving. And, for the first 5 minutes of that game where he was under the cosh, he kept us in that game and helped us to get that win last night. QPR, that fans. So, yeah, he helped us definitely to win that game. And, wow, absolutely outstanding last night. I really enjoyed his performance. And it's good for him to, prove the doubters wrong, I think, is the thing. And there's a lot of talk about the goalkeeping position. We've all talked about it, not just you, Christian. We've all done it.
I hands up. As you can see, my hands are up. I was a doubter. I was a doubter, and I mean, as you said a second ago, you went, "Wow." I've got a piece of paper here it's written on my computer, and I've written out "Wow" in big capital letters and Pandor's name next to it. It was. He set the foundation. We were getting peppered. Those saves he did, he set the foundation for City. He brought the team together because of those saves. If they went in, it would have been a different game. I really, truly think it would have been a different game. But because
100%.
of what he did in that first 5 to 10 minutes of being peppered and those saves and the lads coming to him, he changed it. I honestly to God believe Pandor is the reason why City not only got the first goal for the first time, but we actually continued with it. We kept attacking with it. I truly believe it's because of him. I was a doubter, and that was pre-season. When the league started,
other thing you've got to remember as well, sorry to butt in, Christian, he's only 24.
Yeah.
He's only a very young goalkeeper.
I mean,
Christian, you had your hands up there. You know who else had his hands up last night, don't you? This guy.
The guy. All I want to say, and I love Rossi still, but what were you thinking playing Allsop all those times? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, after last night and seeing that, I didn't see Allsop do that all season. And yet, in one game, Pando's absolutely flipped the lid. I can't say one game because he's done really well since the beginning of the season, I personally thought. But the last couple of games,
He's been brilliant, to be fair. And I think also Badia's been good up front. I mean, Saturday, could nearly got hat-trick. He's bullied that fella out and had the shot. The keeper's made a save. And then I think it was Balumi, if he passes it properly, square to him, he's got an open goal to tap in. I think he's doing really well.
I know what opportunity you're on about. It was second half, wasn't it? Where Balumi sort of didn't shoot fully, but didn't cross it fully either. And if he committed to one or the other, it goes in, but he sort of did in between the two, didn't he? And thought, at least if I miss, then Chris is going to get there. But he's
like last night's goal is at the back post. Nobody's marking him. I think he's doing all right up front. He seems to be a strong lad, and I think he's come on leaps and bounds. The last 2 or 3 games, and
the other thing,
I think he is a big threat. To be honest, he's got a couple of goals, hasn't he? This is just going to give his confidence.
I think the other thing with that is that when Bairstow came on last night, he looked a handful as well. And, I think that, he's he could play a part this season as well, could Bairstow, because, he's obviously got quality. You don't beat Chelsea for not being quality. I think he's got a little bit to learn. And I saw on Hull City's feed, and I was trying to find it a minute ago, having to scroll through because they put, about Ivor Pandor's great performance last night. There was bigging up the new goalie coach that they've got. Christian, you probably know his name because you know everything. Sorry, not Christian. Joe, you know his name.
Bill Boscat.
There you go. I knew he'd know. But yeah, I mean, you have got to big him up because he's obviously doing a good job as well, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the change. You can see the change. Somewhat's going off, and it's more confidence that they're coming out with. Definitely. You could just see they're not as afraid. And that was one of the things I noticed in the pre-season. They just seemed scared to stopping the ball, but no. But going back to Chris, I mean, I want to go to Stoke game with regard to Chris Bedia, because that penalty, did you see the relief on his face when that penalty went in? You just saw every bit of weight just disappear. Sorry for the sound effects for everybody on the radio there, but you could see it just lift away. And against QPR, he looked totally different than I mean, don't get me wrong. I've always seen him give the effort, but the work rate in battling, and the reward for the amount he was battling, you can't fault the lad. I really enjoyed watching him last night. I'm so happy he got another goal. And I'm not just happy because we won and we got goals. I'm happy for the lad individually. I thought Chris did a lot of work. And then when Berso come on, like you said, AD, it was the right time for him to come on in a way, because it kept the energy going. And when he came on, we were still attacking.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. I mean,
and that's refreshing, isn't it, to see us still attacking?
Oh, yeah.
The other thing I think we need to talk about is the corners, because a few weeks ago, when we was doing these short corners and they weren't going right, the fans was getting a little bit frustrated with it. So we put quite a few of these balls into the box instead of the short corners. But short corners are starting to work for us.
Differently.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, we've scored 3 goals out of them in
I would say so, yeah. And there's the stat, as we saw last week against Stoke, they hadn't scored from 60-something corners and we hadn't scored from 70-something corners. Well, we're starting to get there with the corners, so the coaching on that is getting better as well. And, there just seems to be, better at that. I was really pleased with that last night.
Tim was very complimentary of Tapper, he called him, Filip Topalovic, who must be leading on all the set pieces and what have you, as one of his assistant coaches. I mean, the ball was worked perfectly to Zambrano against Cardiff, and with the help of a huge deflection, in it went. But if Slater's against Stoke last year counts, then Zambrano's against Cardiff this year definitely counts as his. And then Cody Drama, weirdly, he looked annoyed he'd scored it and not celebrating.
It was his.
He must have played for QPR.
Yeah, well, I thought that as well, but he hadn't. I think it was his.
No.
It was his first professional goal, apparently, and somebody had put there probably didn't know how to celebrate, didn't know what to do. He's lost. I've scored a goal. What do I do?
And it's a worldie. And if I did it another 200 times, it still won't go in again.
I have got X, or Twitter, as Joe likes to call it, up on my screen here, and this goal is just playing back on Twitter, and it is a good goal. Every time you see it, I think it gets better.
It was
I think that's one thing we are doing a bit more of, shooting, aren't we, from distance. I think we didn't do it last year that much. Well, not as often as we should have done.
Yeah, we didn't do it enough.
And I think this season we started off not doing it as much, but we seem to last 3 or 4, 5 games we started to shoot a lot more. And it's got its rewards, hasn't it? You know what I mean? That Zambrano goal, I think last season we'd have passed it again, wouldn't we? It seemed to be we had to get an open goal before we'd have a shot, and it's paying dividends. At the moment, everything is positive. I think it's an upward curve, and I think we're a bit of a frightening team up front. There's a lot of good players up front, and I think a lot of defences won't want to play against the likes of Miller, Badia, Balumi, they're really good players, and I think at the moment I can see us definitely pushing in top 10 and maybe even higher, to be quite honest.
Well,
on the attack, we've got a couple of comments about Chris Badia here. Ben says, Badia has goals in him. His hold-up play has been good so far. He's very good at using his body to create gaps in the defence and chances for those around him. I think there's potential to get 15, maybe more this season. It's still early days, but he's got the ability, and it's clear to see. Nice. Summed up perfectly in terms of Chris Badia.
Yeah, Ben, perfect there. Yeah, absolutely.
There was an opportunity he had against Cardiff where he was just backing in, and as the ball was getting played to him, and then in a split second, considering he's a big lad, you don't expect big strikers to have that sort of agility, but in a split second, bang, turned, and he's facing goalwards, bearing down on goal, and the shot was saved by Jack Annick. So for a big lad, he's got great agility, great movement. His positional sense and hold-up play are superb. The runs he makes in behind are brilliant. And I doubted the signing. I'll admit I doubted the signing. But at the minute, his performances are looking all right. He just needs to keep scoring goals.
Definitely so. We're sitting 9th in the league at the moment because you was talking about the league table and being in the top 10. We are 9th in the league. Norwich are sat just below us. It's only on goal difference because they've got the same points as us, 12 points each. So Oscar's right. Norwich will be a real test, but we are in the same position as Norwich in the league. So, I mean, I said to one of my pupils this morning when I was out on the lessons that I'd take a draw now.
Yeah. No, you get.
You wouldn't be unhappy with the draw, would you? You wouldn't be unhappy with the draw at Norwich. But I think we could go there and win, to be quite honest. I think our forward play is frightening at the moment. We've got so much pace, so much confidence. I think they'll be as frightened of us as we are probably of them. Where about 4 or 5 games ago, they'll be thinking, hey, these 3 points here, Hull City are coming. But we've started to gel together. I know we still have these 15, 20-minute periods where we don't seem to be in the game. We started badly against Cardiff. Obviously, QPR at home, they was on top. But if we can sort of iron that out and get through that first 20, 25 minutes like we did last night, we've got so much going forward that I think most teams will be frightened of us, to be honest, because, Balloumi just improving every game, I think. That somebody said, have we unearthed another Philogene? Well, I can see it. I can see where they're saying that, to be quite honest, because he's got so much skill. It's just sometimes his final ball, but that will come, I'm sure. And, obviously Miller, he was one of the stars last year for Preston, wasn't he? And he's come here and he's full of confidence, isn't he? Miller, he has been from day one sort of thing. And Badir, he just seems to be getting, better. He's a strong lad. He makes, as Joe said, a lot of good runs. Strong lad. I just think, and we've got, Zambrano in midfield who has taken over from Seri. I just think at the moment it's all positive. All right, it could all go negative, I suppose, but I can't see why, because winning games, scoring 10 goals, and as I say, not playing well in every game all the time, having periods in the game when the other team's been on top and you've had to fight your way out. I just think it's all positive at the moment. I'll probably be shot down next week, but hey ho, that's football.
Well, Christian's got it on there, and it's not very often that we've scored first in games. It'd be good to see us score first, and if we can score first, then I might, as you say, it might come back to bite me on the backside. I don't see anybody beating us if we score first, because I think we've got a good attacking option there. Balloumi, somebody put on one of the social medias that they can see Balloumi being better than what Philogene was, and he's certainly more likable than Philogene is what they put. And I understand where they're coming from, because Philogene seemed a little bit sulky at times and stuff like that, whereas Balloumi doesn't. He just seems to be like, I'm happy, I'm playing football, and that's how it should be, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got so much pace, hasn't he?
Massive.
He's got so much pace as a lad.
Yeah.
As I say, our front three, I think, and we've got people to come in if one or two of them's injured, obviously. But, the front three are frightening, I think, because there's pace there, confidence, big striker, which we didn't have last year when Liam Delap went. And to be fair, he went up front a lot of the time, tend to put him on the wing a few times, didn't he? So, but he's up there, big lad. And as Joe said, he just turned that centre half. I think at the moment, as I say, it's all positive for me, but I hope it continues.
Now, I think Balloumi is going to be, like we say, compared to Jayden. Jayden was, for me, let's go back to what Adi said earlier about, with the substitutions and Rossi not actually making those key substitutions. Jayden, for me, at about the 60th, 65th minute, always looked knackered. He looked absolutely spent, and that's when we started kind of getting that counter against us. With Balumi, I don't know, in the 60th minute, he seemed to get faster. He did. And I can tell you right now, gents, watch this space. He's going to be one of Hull's best players at the moment. And I think he's going to be really, I know it's early. I know this is early, but he's going to be really hard to keep hold of. He's going to be that big for the club. I don't even see how
I've seen comments, Christian, to say that, you know, in January, if he's playing as well as he's doing at the moment, we're going to be lucky to keep hold of him. And it's true. Yeah. It's true because, you know, he's just gliding through the game. He's finding his pace, he's finding his touch, and he's gliding through it. And, you know, really glad that we've got him. Let's hope we can keep hold of him for that period, you know, over January and even longer.
4 years we've got him signed up for.
Yeah, but if somebody comes in with a bid, that doesn't matter, does it?
Well, you'd like to think if they're doing well at January, he ain't going to get rid of one of his best players, you know, especially if there's a chance for the Premiership. I think maybe next summer, if we haven't got into the Premiership and it's mid-table and somebody comes in with a decent bid for him, that's a different kettle of fish. But you'd like to think as an owner, you've just signed a young player, he's playing well, your team's doing well. Well, we'll get rid of him. It doesn't seem logical if you've got a chance of the thousands and millions that's in the Premiership. You can't believe he's going to throw that chance away, or maybe getting, I don't know what, 20 million or something. I don't know what he'd get for him, but it sadly seems worth the gamble to me because he is playing really well, and if he continues, it's an upward trend for Hull City, isn't it? And that makes a Jun obviously get the Premiership possibly. So I think that'd be a silly move if they're doing well. And if he's playing well, you'd think the team are doing well, wouldn't you?
It will all depend on how well they're doing in January, won't it? You had some comments up there, Joe, didn't you?
Yes, I did. On the Philogene / Balumi point, Ben says Jayden always seemed like we were just a stepping stone. Oscar says Balumi actually wants to be here.
Fair comments.
Coxey, I won't put it on the screen, but Balumi was taking the mickey second half. I lost count of how many back heels, and it was nice seeing him put Cher on his backside right at the end. And then an interesting comment from Chris as well is we enter our last 15 minutes of the show on Humber Wave Radio and the Hull and Back podcast tonight. Hughes, Puerta, Alzate, João Pedro, all still to get fully fit and settled into the group.
Strength in depth there, isn't they?
Yeah, Puerta played for the under-21s yesterday.
Got his goal, didn't he?
Got a goal away at Coventry in a 4-0 win for the 21s, who are having a brilliant start to the season after a shaky first 2 or 3. And then, but since where they lost 2-3 on the spin, they've won, I think it's 6 on the bounce now. So they are flying, and it's just a shame that all of the 21's home games kick off at 2 p.m. in York on a Tuesday afternoon now. And I have some strong words to say about that, but I'll save that for another day.
Save that for another day. Good to see the club 120th anniversary celebrations on Saturday. Thought they did it really well. Nice to see the legends out there on the pitch. And another good thing the club have done, I got Sarah, I was very, very naughty. I got Sarah down to the St. Stephen's shop queuing last Friday morning because I was out at work. Sent her down there to get me a shirt and one of the little jackets, which are very, very nice. And Joe's just going to get his out now. Look, let's have a look.
No, I'm not. You think what you did was bad. I was braced for the online fight. Right, with me being here in Lincoln, I would have been first in the queue at the stadium. I'd have been there 8:20, ready, so I didn't miss out.
You wouldn't have been first. And 11 o'clock on the night, the first person was queuing at the stadium for that shirt.
Wow.
I know.
Commitment.
Yeah, commitment.
Well, I'd
hopefully.
I got a message from my mate the night that it was revealed, like it was launched back home in Hull, and he says, "Are you going to get one of those shirts?" I said, "Well, I'm going to try." He says, "All right, what size do you want? I'll go for you first thing in morning." And he was there at about 8:10, sent me a picture that he was there, and he sorted a shirt out for me and my dad. and I just didn't want to bother him with the jackets or whatever because I didn't know they were on sale until I got on the website before it crashed. And I then did some further jamming, and I was texting someone I told about the kit a few weeks ago to see if he had any luck, and he managed to get one for himself and a couple for the kids and what have you. And I said, I'm just in the queue for the website, but I'm worried I won't get on before I have to leave the flat to go to my lecture. And he sends us a screenshot and says there's plenty of jackets left. So I was like, hang on, Rich, are you on the website? Yeah, I am. If I send you the money, can you get me a large jacket and joggers and my dad an extra 3XL jacket? Sorry, he says, as long as you send me the money first, because I'm skint now I've bought mine. So,
yeah, they weren't cheap, but yeah, I mean, Sarah, God bless her, made a stand there for an hour and 20 minutes to get me this jacket and shirt from the Hull City shop in St Stephen's, and she came home with the goods, which is great. But I'm glad to see that the club have reneged on the 1904, and I'm glad that they've set it out so that everybody has the chance to get one of these shirts, because I put it out on Twitter. People who follow me will know I wasn't happy about it. Even though I got one, I still wasn't happy about it, because I think that, that 120 years, it was a big celebration. Everybody should have the chance to have one of those shirts and to own that shirt from that day. And what a good day it was, ending up with a 4-1 win, 150th appearance, Louis Coyle, all the legends on the pitch, all the legends watching the game. Yeah, I mean, I said it was all set for a loss, was that game, with everything going on, but it was really good to come out with a 4-1 win.
Yeah, it was definitely. Yeah.
I thought when we went 1-0 down, I thought, oh my God. Oh my goodness.
Typical Hull. That was the typical Hull thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Right in its most infamous way.
Yeah,
definitely.
Not on Saturday.
No, not on Saturday.
No.
And I think these are these are the little things, Joe, aren't they? That when you're talking about this, there's so many sort of voodoos that you overcome, like the new manager bounce thing. Where we've got our 120th year celebration. There's all the legends there, and all these things are usually set to go wrong for us, but we seem to be coming through it at the moment, which is it's refreshing for us and really nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I think, was it Friday the 13th we played as well on Sky at Stoke, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah.
That was guaranteed defeat, wasn't it, before we come on the pitch, really,
And it was, because that was Sheffield United.
Oh, was it? I think it was when he played
Sheffield United on the 13th, and then
was it?
Yeah.
Stoke on the 20th. But I get the sort of sentiment
just
of
proved
what you're
my point
saying.
then.
I get the
With getting
sentiment
it
of
wrong,
what you're
I
saying,
proved
though,
my
Paul.
point.
For anybody that's listening on the radio, my dad has got his Halloween mask on already, so he's modelling the Friday the 13th thing already.
Yeah, watch out.
Nice one. Final question
fair,
before we look ahead. Final question before we look ahead to the Norwich game. I think a couple of words is only needed here. Can you guys see Louis Coyle finishing his career here? I'd imagine that's 4 yeses.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be upset if he didn't. Let's say I'd be very upset, because he's been immense, hasn't he? So, and he's got the club at heart. So you'd hate to lose him. He's a bit, when you look at captains, you look at Ashby, don't you? He was probably one of the better Hull City captains and things like that. I think he's bang up there as one of the best captains we've had. He wears his heart on his sleeve, as Christian said, 110% every match. You'd hate to lose him, really. I think, but I suppose I would say yes, but you never know, do you, with football? You never quite know.
What's been massively pleasing on the Louis Coyle situation is that he's had a lot of people slate him over his career at Hull City. That seems to be getting less and less and less every week. And it's nice to hear the supporters singing he's one of our own, because he didn't really get that much, but he is starting to get that now. And I think the supporters, Ashby was very similar. The supporters didn't really see until Ashby sort of finished his career what Ashby brought to the team. And I think it's the same with Louis Coyle. The supporters sometimes don't see what Louis Coyle brings to the team, but he brings something special to our team, and I'd love to see him finish his career here at Hull City. I really would.
Yeah.
Now, I've always, look, I'll admit, I do criticize a lot of players at times, and Louis Cole, I was actually one of those that are quite up there in my criticisms when it comes to the attacking sense. I always felt that he slowed the game down way too much, and always put his foot on the ball and always looked negatively. And that was definitely during the Rossi regime. Now I'm looking at him in the last 3 games, and I'm thinking, where you been for the last season? It's honest. It's such a different. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's always put the effort in, and I will always say Louis Coyle will give you 110%. But the way he's playing at the moment, though, it looks like he's having to put the effort, a lot more effort into it to try and kind of fill those gaps. Whilst it's still being tried and tested, it looks good for him, and it really looks. It looks like a more complete right back in the attacking sense, not only just a defensive sense.
I think
it's really nice to see.
I think one thing that people said last season was that, or definitely Liam Rossini has said that he'd got the squad fitter. I think Louis Coyle this season looks fitter than he did last season. I think he seems to be quicker.
Yeah.
He seems to be stronger. He seems to be fitter than he was last season. And when you're talking about last season, Christian, and this putting the foot on the ball, I would like to ask, was that Liam Rossini a tactic, or was it Louis Coyle doing that? And that's the question that I would pose out there, because, we've seen that we didn't see the difference to start with this season, but I think we are starting to see the difference in the team this season. We're not playing it around the back as much. We are trying to pass forward a bit. And sometimes, it breaks down a little bit. And sometimes the risk's there. But it was there again last season. We lost a few goals last season through this playing around at the back. I think they're trying to play it forward a bit more this season. And there is a bit of risk there. But I'd rather take the risk by going forward than just playing it around the back 4.
I agree. And it's a tricky thing, though, especially if you go back to, like we just said with the Rossi bit, and is it Coyle or was it the Rossi ball? If you've done something over and over and over again for a full season and you're trying to learn something new, it's hard to get out of that habit. And you do still see parts of that habit coming in. So it's really hard to say, was it the Rossi ball or was it Coyle when he's still doing it? And that's the balance of, is Walter, whoever said that, Walters, saw it in the chat. Is it him who's now forcing that out of him to go forward and not slow the game down as much? Or is he trying to tell him, bring that ball, and the only direction you're looking is a lot more forward? You can't say, was it Rossi or is it Coyle? Because, again, we're still learning new ball. And I think whilst we're talking about players that have been getting criticised over the past, Malem. I want to bring up Malem's performance against Cardiff. That through ball to Bellumi, that was something that I did not see. I have not seen for the past 2 to 3 seasons, a through ball like that to Bellumi's run.
Yeah, it was
it was different. Yeah, it was beautiful. To see a goal like that as well from the way he finished it, Bellumi, but the ball made it for me. That little through ball was perfect. And I think when he came on as a sub, he was in the box. Yes, he missed it from point blank range and it went wide of the post, but he was in the box. And that was refreshing to see as well, that he was pressing into there. That's all I want to say regarding Malem. I'm just giving him his dues and credit.
Yeah, I thought he had a good game against Cardiff, to be honest. I thought he had a good game. Him and Badia, they sort of linked well together, I thought.
They did.
It's starting to come together between them. Just to let you know, we've got 2 minutes just over left on the radio. Coming up after us on the radio, we have got the Ice Hockey Show, new show to Humber Wave Radio. That's coming up on Humber Wave Radio from 8 o'clock. Previewing the Norwich game. We've got 2 minutes to do it. I think it's already been put on there in the chat. It's a very difficult game for us. One that'll be harder than the games that we've just had, but we'll go there full of confidence after these last 3 wins, won't we?
Absolutely will. Absolutely will. I think. Well, will he make any changes? I'm not sure. I can see maybe Malem coming back in starting. Same with Zambrano, but other than that, goalkeeper will be the same. Front three will be the same. Back four will be the same. And I think we bear fruit from it. I
think your team's probably spot on, to be quite honest with you. I think that would, definitely I can see them two coming back in and doing that. What's your thoughts, Paul? Very quickly, you haven't got long.
Well, I think we own one, to be honest, after last season, because we pounded them at home and the beaters. They was lucky at their ground. They got that goal that shouldn't have even been a corner, and they got a goal from that. So we own one. Let's hope we repay them this Saturday. I think that'd be really nice and keep the run going.
Christian.
Let's do it.
Zambrano on for Simmons, I think, and I think everything else will stay the same. I truly do. I do feel there'll be a lot more introduction on subs on this one. It's going to be a lot of it's going to be a harder test. We all agree this is going to be a bigger test. And to come out with a draw, we are all going to be satisfied with. But after seeing 10 goals in 3 games, I want 3-0. I want it.
I want it. As we all do. 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. Tiger Talk will be back here on Humber Wave Radio next Wednesday from 7. Thanks for joining us. I'll just do this and then we'll get back.
All right, and I think all we've got to do left on the To Hull and Back podcast tonight is score predictions for Norwich. Paul, you can kick us off, let's say.
Well, I'm going to say 1-1 because obviously I want us to win, but I think a draw wouldn't be a bad result, and it is going to be a tough game. So, I'm going to say 1-1 with, I don't know, I think Badia myself. I think he'll get another goal.
Okay. AD?
Well, I'm going to agree with you, Paul. I'm going to go 1-1 as well. Not sure who's going to score that goal because we've had lots of goal scorers, and it's really good to see that we've had lots of different goal scorers. We aren't just relying on one person. As I said earlier, I'd have took a draw. I took a draw last night, to be quite honest with you. I thought, after 2 wins, a draw would have been good last night. So to get a win last night, I was ecstatic as well. If we can get a win on Saturday, God, I'll be over the moon.
Christian?
2-1 City, 3-1 City, 2 or 3. I see Balumi. I do. I just see Balumi coming in and absolutely scoring a worldie. I think they're going to score first, but I think Balumi's going to shut them up, and I think he's going to shut them up within minutes. I think he's going to get the ball, run at them, and I think the confidence will build off that. And I just think with how we've been attacking wise, I think our attacking football is going to counter their defensive football that they'll have of possession. I think we're going to boss it, if I'm honest with you. Realistically, 1-1 I'll be very happy with. But I actually do feel I feel something magical might happen in this game. So I'm going to go with 3-1.
I'd be happy with a draw, definitely, but I think we win it 2-1. Goals, Liam Miller and Chris Badia for me. But like I say, I'd take a draw. As Coxie says in the chat, Norwich look good up front, but the 3 wins have made it that if we lose, I won't be as gutted. A defeat against Norwich doesn't define Tim Walter's time at Hull City or end Tim Walter's time at Hull City, as some of us were talking about a few weeks ago. I think that's just about everything.
I think he's going to make it past. I think he's going to make it past international now. Before, I give him what's international. Now, we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Well, we come back with 2 hard games, don't we? Sunderland and Burnley.
Yeah.
So the next 3 games, I would take 3 points. I won't be too unhappy with 3 points. I'd like 9, but That's probably being greedy. But 3 points won't be bad against them 3 teams, because it's still a work
What we
in
do if we do get
progress.
the 9. If we get the 9,
know.
that is a different kettle of fish. I
Certainly.
don't
If you
even
get to
know.
now, you'd be talking about automatic promotion. Well,
You'll see a
I
different side of me.
I wanted, after about 14 or 15 games, 23 points. That was my sort of aim. And I think we've got a chance, I know we've got 3 hard games coming up. But I'd sort of thought if you could be there, it gets you to nearly 70 points at the end of the season. With a bit of push, you could be in the playoffs, couldn't you? So, I don't know. You never know. But, we'll wait and see.
So that's 7 more games to get 9 points to hit your target, Paul.
Yeah.
You should be able to do
Can be
that.
done. It can be done.
I think it's been another great night on to Hull and Back podcast and on Humber Wave Radio's Tiger Talk. Really enjoyed it again. Good to have your company again, guys, and it's great to see us all smiling. Let's hope that we can be smiling next Wednesday after the game against Norwich and take us into that, that where we're at the international break and we've got 2 hard games after that. Let's hope we can be smiling into that and come out of it with, really good performances, good players, and Hull City doing very well. Up the Tigers is all we can say here on Tiger Talk.
Yeah,
Certainly.
thanks, lads.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you
you.
guys for joining us all tonight. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening on Humber Wave Radio and the To Hull and Back podcast tonight. We on the pod will see you on Sunday, but from the 4 of us here, we will next be with you for Tigers Talk this time next week. Same time, same place. But for now, from all of us, it's as AD said, up the Tigers and goodbye.
Yeah, man.